This week on Bravo Outsider.
But it feels so much like a slasher movie.
He's always been Dark Jax, but now he's becoming like this like nightmare Jax.
You're doomed. 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 You're doomed.
Hello and welcome to the Bravo Outsider Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter, joined by the birthday boy, Dylan Ferguson. Dylan, how's it going?
It's going great. It's my birthday today and every day, so that's the best thing in the world. It's the best day ever, and everybody's happy.
Well, we were off last week. You were recovering from your scro talk, so let's dive back into the Valley. Do you want to just give us a quick summary about what happened on this episode?
Sure. Luke and Kristen have a housewarming party, and Luke is stressing about keeping Detective Doute off the case and trying to surprise her with his marriage proposal. Lala gives advice to Michelle, and there's kind of a burying the hatchet meeting between Jason and Janet. And Jasmine and Rebecca, where they sort of settle their dispute, their beef. Leading into as a climax is a party for Brittany at Britt's, formerly Jax's, in Studio City, where they remake the bar in Brittany's name and show their support for her on the same day that Jax is being released from solitary confinement in Alcatraz.
Yeah, the redecorating of Brits was really fun for me. I just really also love Jesse's presence here. He reminded me of like a prospector in like a movie. You're all doomed.
You're doomed. 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 You're doomed.
Why did it's so like half-assed on his part too, is the disappointing part for me. It's like he participates in all of it, but he just kind of hovers around being like, but I don't actually approve, and I don't actually want to be physically the one putting a picture of Brittany on top of a picture of Jax, which Jason also seems to be like, I'm also not going to physically get involved, but they're there. Like it's very wishy-washy on his part. I would prefer to see him just be like, no, I'm team Jax, that's my boy, I'm not going to have any part of this, instead of being like, yes, I will participate, and just kind of be sort of gloomy and glum and hang around the margins.
What stood out to you in terms of like the presentation of this episode?
I really love the slow build up we've had over several episodes, foreboding Jax's return, and this feeling that his evil has just gotten stronger and stronger as he's been locked up. It's been so great. And they even ended with a cliffhanger, right? There's a phrase that's, I think Jesse says something like T-minus 12 hours and Jax is back. And I just really love the dark shadow that he casts over everything.
Yeah.
I think the way that they weave in those little syrupy confessionals he makes once in a while. But what really makes it emotionally powerful to me, I think, is the way that they represent Brittany's complex emotions too. Because obviously the surface level thing is all like, yay, you're going to be free from a horrible, horrible man who's ruined your life for years. But, you know, in real life, her emotions are more complex than that. And they really give room for that to be explored during the scene where she's like getting all her friends over so they can put Jax's shit in garbage bags and throw them on the stoop or whatever. You know, a classic like, oh, I'm over the boy kind of moment. But they show how it's difficult for Brittany and how she, like, you know, they give moments where she gets to say things like, you know, I do really love him, and he can bring me back in, you know, like she's still afraid of that he's going to be able to work that charm again in the future, that he's going to be able to weaponize that again. And moments like when she's like backing up a little jean jacket and she's like, oh, his little jean jacket that I used to wear all the time, which the editors take as a cue to immediately like start stitching in a few little flashbacks of other moments from Vanderpump Rules of them being happy together, and implying that these are like the memories that she can't help but suppress, that make everything a lot more complex for her. That's what makes the episode more emotionally compelling for me.
Yeah, totally. You touched on the like feeling of Jax being this foreboding presence, and that really has been through all these episodes, but I feel like it really came to the forefront on this episode, especially when we get that call out from Jesse, like the countdown is on, he's out. But he's lurking in all the corners of this entire season, especially in this episode. He's like literally in the corners via the cameras in the house. But it feels so much like a slasher movie where you've got this villain who you are like, you're only seeing every so often, just kind of like darting down hallways in the background, and just the feeling that you get from having this impending doom just darting around the story. I really like that. And you touched on Brittany's narrative being very compelling and like driving the emotion of the story. It's an interesting balance, and it's definitely the thing that resonated the most with me emotionally watching this, especially the scene that we get at the divorce lawyer's office as she is building this case against Jax, and she's doing it like for the lawyer, but she's also doing it for herself in order to build up the courage in order to actually pull the trigger on filing for separation. And she says in a confessional, I think, that she wasn't sure that she was she didn't expect that she was actually going to like file for divorce at this meeting. She just was looking for advice. But as the mountain of evidence that she is presenting to this lawyer is growing and growing, this idea becomes like more real to her. Like she's building she's building this reality like in front of herself. I don't know. I just really liked that scene.
Yeah, it's also building to the audience a more and more of an idea of Jax having become this like absolute nightmare man. Like it's not even like, it's not going like dark Jax the way that like Danny goes, Danny Darko, because he's always been dark Jax, but now he's becoming like this like nightmare Jax, like just an absolute. We're seeing things that we've never
calamity Jax.
Yeah, yeah. We've like we're getting new information like that he owed like $1.2 million in back taxes apparently, which is insane, and that he's like got all these potentially a lot of like debts and financial responsibilities that we weren't aware of, that he's now trying to like foist off on Brittany, like that. Plus the like actually stalking her through the cameras and repeatedly, not just once, but repeatedly coming over to unblock them and sending her texts about like, I know what you're wearing and shit. Like he's fucking ghost faced, is just making him, our perception of him become just like more and more like, oh shit, it's that bad. Like it's like with every new piece of information, it's the image we have of Jax as he's stewing in his cell waiting to be re-unleashed upon the friend group just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, totally. What else in terms of this episode resonated with you aside from the Jax and Brittany of everything?
I guess the other thing that I find a little emotionally complex is the little bits we get scattered throughout of Michelle growing a resentment towards Brittany or towards the friend group / Brittany, because she feels that Brittany is getting this avalanche of support and well wishes, where she is in a similar situation and doesn't feel that she's being supported the same way. That's interesting. I'm interested to see if that goes anywhere, if that ends up with her actually expressing resentment towards anyone in the group. It's interesting because it's like a negative feeling from her that also it's like, yeah, I get it. Like I can understand how she's going through hell, as we've discussed before on the show, and feels like the other one who's going through hell is getting like nothing but nonstop support, and she isn't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about Michelle's expressions of bitterness, I guess, because of that?
I mean, totally valid. I feel like she does, at least in terms of what we are seeing in the show. We are not seeing anyone go out on a limb for her at all when it comes to Jesse. No one is questioning inviting him to any events.
Mhm.
Like, she can't even rally enough people to like get separate accommodations on a trip that he plans.
Yeah.
So she's not really getting a lot from anyone in this group. So I think that, yeah, it's totally valid that she would feel that. And that feels like particularly real to me. Just like, this is a real emotion that she is feeling. It's not
Mhm.
like, it's not just like a plot point in the show. So I am really interested to see how this goes, because it feels like a really authentic kind of. She's jealous of the attention and the support that Brittany is getting, and I think she has a reason to be, because we have seen Jesse be awful, and we're seeing him continue to
Mhm.
be awful, and no one in the group is going out on a limb for her. They're not supporting her in any way. So I really am curious to see how it goes, because I mean, like, her crosshairs are kind of put on Brittany with this, but really she's upset with the group,
Yeah.
not Brittany. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this manifests in terms of like what kind of conflict it's going to create within the group, and how that actually plays out, because I think it could go one of two ways, where the group is receptive to her feelings and they say, oh yeah, maybe we haven't been giving you the support, we're going to try to do better. Or it could go the other way, like what do you expect us to do, and it could become a point of confrontation. So I'm interested to see how that goes, and if it develops this season. Do you have any, like, how do you think the group would respond to this feeling from her?
Yeah, I think we got a little foretaste of it when, as you referenced, Michelle tried to banish Jesse from the trip that he planned and tried to rally support among the group, and it didn't really work out. And not everybody was willing to go along with her plan. So I think if she started voicing her resentment, she would have partial support, but not total support. And she is right that there's more support for Brittany than for her, but that's also kind of understandable. Like, at least I'm not too clear on which of these friendships go back further than others, but at least in terms of the TV show, Brittany is a star in this TV show universe for a lot longer than she is, and is more of a main character for that reason. Nobody was greenlighting the Valley based on it being the Michelle show, and
Yeah.
Whether Brittany's relationships with these people are actually like a lot deeper, more meaningful than they are with Michelle's, I'm not really sure in terms of like real life friendships, but it's definitely the way that it's presented, and definitely the like whole like coworker aspect of it is Brittany is much more central to the group than she is. So, there are reasons why it's like understandable why they'd be like, oh, we're going to throw a huge Brittany themed party, and not be like, we're going to throw a huge Michelle themed party. I think that she would struggle to find widespread sympathy if she started like voicing these thoughts to somebody other than the cameraman in the confessional. And I think that's tough for her. That sucks, but I could. That's how I think it would go down.
Yeah, I mean, also, I think she's got a really good point, because like Jax, a lot of the stuff that Jax has been doing has not been on camera unless it's being brought to the camera by Brittany, or it's being brought to the group by Brittany. Like, he's not doing a lot of this out in front of people. It's through text messages and through the situations that he's manipulating, like, and like abusing her financially, and all the stuff that he's doing behind closed doors. Whereas, like, we see Jesse basically calling Michelle a prostitute in front of everyone on a trip, and it's crickets. We're not hearing anyone go to bat for Michelle, really. On that trip, people were more upset with Danny for drinking as opposed to Jesse for being in Michelle's face. So I think, like, for her to see like Jesse is very publicly being a complete asshole, and all my supposed friends are not doing anything about it. They're focused on other things. And then Brittany is getting all this support for, we're not seeing Jax be the bad guy within the friend group in the same way that Jesse is able to like have free reign to run around and be villainous. I can see where she's coming from.
Yeah. And like I mentioned that it was a little wishy-washy on Jesse's part to be like, oh, I'm here, but I also don't totally agree with it. But it's also wishy-washy on the friend group's part to be like, oh, we're throwing this party to celebrate you, Brittany, finding freedom from your awful abusive husband. And Michelle, of course, you're welcome
Michelle's.
too.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, your awful abusive husband is going to be standing there next to you because he's also invited.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a tough situation for him.
So there's a few things that we haven't really dived into yet here that I want to talk about. I think we got a bit more development in the conflict between Jasmine and Jason and Janet here. We got like some resolution here. How were you feeling about how that all shook out?
These like kind of side quest disputes are all being resolved very quickly and very easily. So it's not super satisfying to me. I think having them sit down and just be like, we're friends, right? Like this is, we're just gonna like squash this here, aren't we? Is a little disappointing. They should be required to have Kristen there at all times when they're having those discussions, because they need somebody who's invested in actually extending and elaborating on the conflicts rather than just being like, yeah, we don't actually want to do this. We want to stay friends. Not satisfying to me, unless it is another step bringing Janet versus Kristen closer to being like an actual war that happens, which is something that's an idea that I feel has kind of been teased throughout the season, but hasn't really come to fruition. And at this point, I'm worried might never actually come to fruition. If it's another step along that journey, that's great. But it wasn't a super satisfying scene for me, or resolution to the conflict.
Yeah, I liked the way that the Mexican restaurant scene was presented. The way the wide shot of it was very off center, and Jasmine was like kind of backed into the corner off on one side of the screen. I really like that. I don't know if that was like intentional or just a product of the environment that they were shooting in, but it really added to this feeling of like Jasmine not really having anywhere to go because she was, caught red-handed talking shit and now has to come to terms with it. So I enjoyed that. I think you make a good point about it not really being satisfying in terms of a storyline. But again, we talked about a couple episodes ago how Kristen just only needs a little bit of something in order to work with. And like what she had really was not that much in order to stir something up. But it was a good enough moment in order to put them off balance, in order to like make some ground. And I think that it was relatively effective for her to kind of stir things up a little bit. So, she was able to put Jason on his heels when she was going at Janet for the fight that they had like 2 episodes ago. And that was, I think, all that she really expected of that information to really do. And yeah, so I think it served its purpose. It wasn't ever going to be this like huge thing, but it got Kristen what she needed in that moment.
Yeah. Also a good showcase of why Jason's kind of slightly dorky lawyerish demeanor is not good enough for these conflicts, because he's like he like lays out the things that happen and is like, has anything I've said yet been inaccurate? Okay, proceeding to the next point. It's just like very like it's too efficient. It's like you're not going to be able to prolong a beef that way, man. You've got to start misinterpreting things. You can't just like lay out what happened and be like, do we agree on the facts of the case? Okay, like nah, that's not how you get messy. See, that's
yeah, it's annoying because he is like a white hat. He's like a good guy. But if he was using his powers for evil, he would be so good, I feel like. Like if he was able to just use those powers to be manipulative and like do Janet's bidding and really stir shit up, I think it would be super effective.
Yeah, Janet's got to do some like Lady Macbething on him. She's got to like do something to start manipulating him and turning him towards evil, because he's too lame right now, man. He's just too lame.
Okay, so we also saw the progression of Danny Darko here.
Danny Darko, I love that. Props to Jason for saying Danny Darko. Totally. That's great. That's a great coinage.
How are you feeling about this like storyline overall?
This is great. This storyline's great. Like I love seeing the cracks appearing in Nia and Danny's relationship. I love seeing like these increasing glimpses of the idea that Daddy might have like some like very deep seated like sadness or something that's pushing him to become a secret alcoholic. And I just like seeing the way that it like festers and burbles up, and I find it great. I like seeing it set off Janet and have her being like, I'm not the ass grabber, or my husband's not the ass grabber. You know, he's not the one out here grabbing asses every day. That's great. Daddy's funny too. Like it's funny to see somebody like who's drunker than everybody else, who's like in a parallel reality where he's like, and another thing about this argument we're having, and everybody's like, we're not having an argument, stop it. Like, and it's great. But I mostly just
he thinks he's killing it in this moment. Like in his reality, he thinks he's killing it.
He's like, it's about time I took a stand and said what everybody's thinking. So yeah, this is going on right here. And everybody's like, stop. No, that's not what we're doing here. But I mostly just love the dynamic between him and Nia. I love Nia being like, that's not my problem. And then being like pulling him aside and be like, okay, now it is my problem. Now we're going to have to, you're going to have to deal with what you're doing. And then being like, okay, so now we have to, now because I can't have all the blame being directed towards you, now I've got to redirect it at Janet. And now when people come and ask me like, what's going on here, I have to say like, oh, Janet's causing shit again. Like, you know, she's going after Danny. The way that she has to make these like little calculations about, when do I have to like separate myself from Daddy and throw him under the bus? And when is it time to like deflect and make it about somebody else? Yeah. It's like super interesting to me.
Yeah, totally. They've gone from being really boring to watch to being very compelling to watch. Yeah. Because like you said, there's this facade that they're trying to keep up that she's constantly making calculations about in terms of how it gets presented on camera. And that is super interesting. Plus we get the emotional intensity that they are trying to hide, and we're catching like glimpses of like the shots where Danny is like has a shot and he's like watching her to make sure that she's not looking when he's drinking. The way that is captured is just like so good.
Yeah. And wasn't there a moment where he gets a shot or something and he's like sees Nia sitting next to him and he's like, oh, do you want the shot, honey? I got this for you. Yeah. And she's like, I don't do shots. It's just
no, he was like, oh, they got me the shot they were trying to make me drink. I said no. So here, I saved it for you.
Yeah. That's really good.
I just wanted to let you know. And she's like, oh, thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
But even before that, where they're doing like a toast over shots, and he raises his glass, and then you see him look over in Nia's direction, and he puts his glass down, and then we see an insert shot of Nia like turning her attention away from him and back to like the group that she's at. And then we get the cutaway of him actually like taking the drink once she stopped looking. I just think that those little moments I really love because they paint like such a clear picture of this dynamic that they've got that they are trying to suppress and hide from the audience. I really love how this is evolving, how we're seeing their like this like picture that they have painted kind of start like crumbling and collapsing in front of us. I really appreciate that because, you know, season 1, they were boring. They were bringing nothing to the table. Season 2, they continue to try to be the normal ones, but we're seeing that all fall apart, and it is so satisfying to watch. And there's like so much going on here that is really compelling.
Yeah, it's great. And it's a great contrast, just providing some variety between that and like Jax and Brittany, which is like Jax and Brittany has become such like all the bandages have been ripped off and we're seeing all this like dark nastiness that's been festering, and it's just like becoming so exposed. And the Nia-Dani relationship is something where what's most telling about it, as we've been discussing, is the things that they're hiding. It's the things that they're trying not to say, the things that they're trying not to do. We're seeing like this portrait of how the relationship works through all the subtle attempts to hide things and to not let things be exposed. It's like we have like this one bad relationship where like everything's become overexposed and it's like just nastiness, and then this different relationship where everything's all covered up, but seeing like the kind of the edges of the pieces of tape that have been placed over it are like what's compelling, like what's the fact that things are being hidden is painting a picture in a different way.
Yeah, it's so funny to me that on this show, like the picture of stability and like couples goals within the world of the Valley is like Kristen and Luke and Janet and Jason. Like Kristen and Janet are such like pot stirrers, and they're like so in everyone else's face and like so like toxic in certain ways, but they have the best relationships out of this whole group in terms of like how they interact with their partner. It's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
So were there any quotes that stood out to you from this episode?
Not a lot. One that I did find really funny, another great example of Jason's kind of dorkiness, is when Danny Darko starts coming out and he's like, and Jason starts talking to him and Danny's like, wow. And Jason goes, not wow, dude. Wow to you. You're the wow guy.
Yeah.
That was good.
He engages in this like social combat at the level of like a 5th grader.
Yeah.
The way that he is like doing his his comebacks are just so childish.
Yeah,
but yeah, he did strike gold with Danny Darko. That is really good. I think we talked a little bit about the quote that stood out to me, which was the very end where we get that like call out to 12 hours until Jax is out. You guys are fucked now. I'm paraphrasing there, but that was the sentiment of it here. Really excited to see Jax coming back next episode. It has felt like he has been here the entire time just because of how this has been presented. Like we have felt him. So I'm interested to see how that changes the dynamic of the season when he's actually there, when we finally see, you know, the masked killer arrive and how he wreaks havoc on all these unsuspecting teenagers and the slasher that is the Valley. I'm really, really looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, me too.
Do you have any highlights that we haven't talked about yet?
I feel like we pretty much went through all the highlights for me. Yeah.
Cool. How about stars? Who are your stars?
I feel like I've got to give first star to Brittany. It's just so much her episode. And as I mentioned, what's the most like emotional and complex parts of this that like really made me sit up in my seat were her like actually grappling with the fact that she still loves the guy who fucking sucks and is ruining her life. That's like just a very human thing to go through, and that you can't just like turn off those feelings even as you even as you hate him, and recognize that as everybody around you is saying, you need to do everything in your power to separate from him. The illustration of that was interesting to me. The fact that she said those things on camera and wasn't just towing the line and wasn't excluding her comments to like things like Jack sucks. They allowed us to see a little bit more of what's going on in her head and the difficulty of that. So I feel like I've got to give her the first star. This is the episode where they've painted her name on a giant sheet and put it up on top of the like the logo of the Valley could have just have like the word Brits put on top of it. Like the meta of that is like really interesting to me too. Just in the way that like Jax is the reality TV star and Brit's always just been there because she was Jax's partner, and so the kind of rebranding his bar as Brits felt like a moment that had that kind of meta resonance, that it's like, yeah, we're rebranding Brit as the reality TV star, and Jax is the guy who's temporarily pushed out of the spotlight. Second star, you know what? I got to go with Danny Darko. Like, it's just he's just
okay. Yeah,
he had such funny moments there at the end, and yeah, I got to give it to him. He's a funny drunk, and we got to see more of that out of him. And I'll give a third star to Michelle because she was the other person who like made me really contemplate some complex emotions, as we discussed. So yeah, let's go with that roster.
All right. Yeah, I think you're right. Number one has to be Brittany, just in terms of this episode has been all about her. We got the bed sheet that used to be separating the apartment that Jax and Sandoval and Schwartz all lived in, taken down and put up with her name on it on the bar. Yeah, I just, for all the reasons we've mentioned, she has had the most compelling arc this season. I think number two, I'm going to give to Danny as well. Danny Nia's relationship, like we said, it's really interesting to watch. And yeah, I just have enjoyed watching that fall apart. And number three, I'll give to Michelle again, because we have seen her provide this resentment and I think a really honest, valid emotional response to all the support that Brittany is getting. That is really like, it's really adding complexity to the dynamic here. So yeah, really enjoying that. But yeah, I am on a whole just really enjoying this season of The Valley. How about you?
Yeah, me too. It's been super good, and not in the same way that the first season was. It's really gone in unexpected directions. It continues to be an extremely dark and upsetting show, but in a way that's like really fascinating. It's got these portraits of relationships that are just like more searing and difficult, but like complex and weird and illuminating than like any other portraits of relationships I've seen on like any other medium, really. So I've actually been finding it super fascinating.
Yeah, it's been great. Cool. I think that about does it for this week. It's a short one because we were only talking about The Valley, but maybe we'll pick up. I don't know, what do you want to watch next week?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, we've been circling Mormon Wives for a while. I know you've been loving the new season. I've yet to get caught up on it, so I'd be definitely interested to get into that. But I would be down to dive back into some Housewives too. I don't know, man. There's a lot of options out there right now.
Yeah, Next Gen NYC is also out right now. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. Have you seen anything from that?
No, not yet, but I'd be interested to try it out, see what it's like. Have you tried it out yet?
No, I haven't watched that one yet. I'm pretty curious about it. We've got Gia, Teresa's daughter. We've got Brooks Marks. We've got Candy's daughter. Kim Zolciak's daughter, and then some newbies there. I'm just like, I always love New York as a setting, so I would love to see what they do with it with this this new cast and see how they paint, you know, people who are not necessarily as established as their usual suspects are in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be a fun one to cover for sure.
All right. Well, if you have thoughts, leave us a comment. Let us know what you would like us to cover. Tell us what you think about the Valley so far this season. Do you think that Michelle is valid in her resentment towards the support that Brittany is getting? Leave us a comment. Hit subscribe on the podcast platform you are listening or watching us on. Head on over to our YouTube, subscribe there. That always helps. Dylan, want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find some of my writings about new movies on my Substack, where I write as Dylan Ferguson, which happens to be my name. It's a strange coincidence.
I'm Craig Midwinter. You can find us on our social media at Bravo Outsider on Instagram and TikTok. I'll post little clips here and there. Scroll back through some of our old clips and give us a like and a comment. Until next week, we'll keep on wiping.